Good morning, and another edition of When Worlds Collide. Um, just my musings on my recent vacation, which I returned from just yesterday. Um, my wife's house, as I was college visiting, my wife's family's house, I should say. I was college visiting. It's funny when you go to visit family, particularly if they're not your own, they're your wife's. You observe different things because they grew up different from you and they have different perspectives and all this. Well, anyways, my wife's sister Gretchen came by to visit us, and she has 6 children, 5 boys and a girl, and they're all getting pretty old now, and she's homeschooled them all their lives. And this is certainly not going to be a commentary on homeschooling, which I don't do, my wife and I don't do, but it's just some observations. Um, One of her sons, Benjamin, is now 17 years old, and he's about ready to head off to the big wide world. And they came over and he was talking about how, he got his driver's license. So he was talking to my son and he was saying, he was seeing how, my son drives a lot. And he says, oh, my mom never lets me drive because they drove over from West Philly to Mount Airy. And I don't know, it's about a half an hour drive. And mom drove the car and Benjamin, didn't. He just drove as a passenger. And he says, she hardly ever lets him drive the car, which to me is a curious thing because, you know, you're preparing a kid for life and for, adulthood. And, obviously driving's a big part of that. And you want to get him some driving experience. And he doesn't drive often. And this got me to thinking. And it was kind of interesting because just about an hour before they came over, my son had wanted to go get a game at a GameStop, in Philly. And his younger sister and brother wanted to drive along. So he went out in the van, with his GPS and his phone and went out and did it. Just like we let him go to Princeton to visit school on his own. We just dropped him off at 30th Street Station, and he had to do all the connecting drives to Princeton and meet things. And I'm just thinking, homeschoolers, and I'm not making an observation on all of them, but I just wonder. They seem to be very protective of their kids, and interesting enough, a lot of these people come from a tradition, church-wise, trusts in the sovereignty of God, or claims to trust in the sovereignty of God for all things, that, God is, overseeing their covenant children through life. Yet there seems to be a great deal of control amongst this, at least certain members who do this homeschooling thing. They want to have their kids always under wraps. They want to make sure they don't date or anything. They want to keep them protected. Um, Interesting about Benjamin, because he's been around adults most of his life, seems like a pretty responsible, mature young man. Sometimes my children don't always seem that mature. But I'm just thinking, if your expectation level is high for your children, which it should be, by the time they're 17 years old, they're almost an adult. They should be able to think for themselves, do a lot of things, and you really have to, coach them a lot of life rather than parent them and just, let them go. Just give them a little direction, let them go, and get them prepared and maybe fail. And I'm hoping, we do that with our kids as they go out. My oldest will be going out to college in a year. And I want him to be prepared. And that means he's going to have to make a lot of decisions and taking a lot of initiative. That was just one thought. Nothing major, but I just thought it was interesting that, homeschoolers, the more I get to see them, sometimes they seem, I think homeschooling is much of the idea of homeschooling as a philosophical educational paradigm. I think a lot of it is less, or is less than maybe some people think, than a parent's desire to really, be involved in every aspect of a kid's life. So they're overseeing them all the time. And with part of that might become some type of micromanaging tendencies maybe homeschoolers have. Can't speak for all of them, but I just think it's something that, homeschoolers should maybe consider, the micromanaging aspect of their personality. Also, as I was there, I thought about some other things on the vacation. Um, and let me just see if I can recall them now that I got into this part of the segment. I'm drawing a little bit of a blank, but I will get to it quickly, I'm sure. In the meantime, let me just say, colleges. It's amazing the amount, particularly at the Ivy League level, of money they have. Um, Josh, my son, was talking to a track coach because he may get to school on a track scholarship. So he was talking to the track coach at Princeton. I didn't get a chance to witness this one, but I did get to witness the interview he had with the UPenn coach, and it was just remarkable to me what these coaches have. Track is not a big sport to me. I mean, especially Ivy League football. Ivy League schools. I don't think they're getting a lot of money from the track program. People don't come out en masse to watch track. Yet the track budget is enormous. In fact, at Princeton, Josh was telling me the track coach pretty much hinted at the fact that he doesn't really have a budget. Basically, he does what he wants, and he was mentioning a couple of things. How in the past several years the Princeton track team has gone off to China, a lot of international meets, just to run all over the world. He also said during spring break, the track team goes down to Florida, and they practice for till about 1 in the afternoon, and then the kids are all allowed to go out, and they're even giving money to purchase rental cars, so they can go out, hang out during the day and enjoy spring break while they practice track. That was just incredibly fascinating to me. Oh, now I remember what I wanted to talk about. It was this idea of prior to my visiting, I had met this guy on Facebook who, just randomly, so to speak, came across my page and wanted to friend me, and I said, sure, why not? And as I was mentioning my son being at a Bible study at Princeton, because he got to stay over there one night, this guy hit my page and he gave me some, advice about, some Christian ministries throughout the Ivy League, and it was some good advice. And I find out he's not far from me. He lives, in Massachusetts, and maybe we're going to hook up. And I was just thinking how, this seemed to be providential, that, maybe I could meet with this guy, maybe he can meet with my son. He's been in the Ivy League. He's been at Penn. He did high school track. All these different things lined up in my favor, and I think it could be a good contact person. I was telling this to at my wife's family's house, and Heidi's other sister chipped in. She says, "Oh, I would never do anything for Facebook. Who knows? He could be a stalker or a psycho or whatever." And that got me to think about the idea of how Christians, always think the devil is prowling around every corner, even when it seems like the providence of God is staring you right in the face. We shouldn't be fearful of events that just because they're on some type of a medium that is new, unfamiliar, or recent, like technology or like the internet or Facebook. Doesn't mean that everything about that is the devil's playground. And it got me to thinking about a lot of things that have been discouraging me of late. And some of it, there's nothing we can do about it. Some of it we have to be diligent to point out. But there's so many things pointed out in Christianity, regarding the news, regarding even, certain things of the church does or theological bents that we want to point out that is error or humorous. And sometimes the world just seems crazy. And because it seems crazy because of the projectiles flying at us, the negative projectiles, the projectiles of sin or just things we can't even imagine, it just seems so bad that we base our life experience on that. And we basically are looking for the worst much more than we're looking for the best. And I don't think that's a way to run your life or manage your life. And I don't think it's a godly way to do things. And I think we have to be really mindful of the fact that, we're probably even feeding our own selves for whatever reason with negative news because we want to, somehow, prove to people like, the world's going this way and this is going that way and everything's bad and, getting worse. And some of that is our own, either theological bent that we assume the world's going to get worse and worse and worse until Christ comes back, or some of it is our own just pessimistic bent that we have as people. We always want to be looking for the bad in things. And my thoughts are that, we don't nearly enough look at how God is working and actually trying to actually go out and seek stories, seek people to tell us, how is God blessing you? What has God done for you in your life lately? To see how God is working. Mention to people, how have you seen God orchestrate events in your life that were clearly done by Him to your benefit and to His glory. And these conversations I have with people all the time that in Christian circles that if you're doing anything, there's always a cautionary tale. Maybe be careful with that. And I'm not saying there's a place, there's certainly places for that, but so often it's just crazy. And this is a discouraging thing. It's one of my, observations during my vacation. I'm going to try to, make a proactive, big proactive efforts not to do this myself in the future. To, try to really, see how God is working, how God is in control, how the devil is on the sidelines. He has no power. And ultimately, God will give us the wisdom to make the right choices. And we should do that boldly and not fearfully. Thoughts for today? Until next time, Johnny W. Bread, signing out.